Hi everyone, Evette Rose here, and guys, welcome to Men in Business Summit. I am so excited to have a very powerful guest speaker, Robert Bonnick, here with us. Welcome and thank you for being here with me live.
You are so welcome, Evette. It's my pleasure, darling.
Happy.
My pleasure.
So happy. And guys, for those of you who don't know Robert, he's an iconic business entrepreneur, entertainer, and also he's very deeply involved with the tourism. He's also a tourist advisor. He's co-partnered with a nightlife venture that's voted number 3 in the world that is now also based in Bali here with me. Thank you so much for coming all the way out to Ubud. I mean, there's so much more that you do, and we're going to be diving into that because it was a list. I'm like, man, this guy, what have you not done?
Yeah, it's a bit of a list. It's a bit of a list.
First of all, congratulations with being so accomplished. It's absolutely amazing what you have done, and I will, in a minute or so, we'll dive into where did you get the energy for it. But before we do that,
the energy,
the element of everything. How did you get into this field? Because it's also a very unique industry that you dived into, and it's not just one, there's several.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think the easiest way to describe it is that, I grew up in like 2 orphanages or children's homes growing up in London, and the thing which I got is that I got the power of unity, and I got the power of uplifting one person, right? Uplifting one person, showing faith, helping one person to succeed, right? And then through that came sporting events and being like the life and soul of the party, like bringing people together in teams, right? And then teams became eventually clubs, experiences, gatherings of thousands, of hundreds of thousands of people. I think I've co-mastered something like 2,000 plus events, 1.5 million people offline, which is a crazy number, and it's growing, it's even more. But what happened was, so we went from the individual into the group, the dynamic of sport, then into the event dynamic of hundreds of tens of thousands, and then into millions, and then into coaching, huge leaders, right? So now what we're doing is we keep adding numbers in. So then the next step, which I didn't realize was a logical step, but clearly it is, was in tourism. So it's about countries. So how do we uplift countries? It's still the individual, except it's, instead of my time 1 hour can reach one person, maybe now 1 hour can reach hundreds of thousands of people or more.
Wow.
So that's how we ended up in tourism.
And wow. And when you look at what you have created and what you've done, then what would you say was your absolute most favorite project, one that really stood out for you, and why?
Ooh.
Like something that really touched you?
Yeah, that would have to be Brouwer Food and Wine Festival here in Bali.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why is that it's the first time it was ever done before.
Oh, wow.
And most people, including part of myself, thought that we were going to fail miserably, thought that we weren't going to be able to do it right. But I just had this drive to do it, and it took everything. Everything which I'd learnt to that time, including not only the physical context of organizing an event, but it's how do you shepherd people through something they've never done before, and something that, quite frankly, they would prefer not to do because it's too much work. Right. So then how do you guide people through that, and then at the same time bring this offline and online worlds together in such a way that it sparks in a period of time that is definitely not enough to make it happen. So in many ways we had so many things against us, but then, I love people, right? So, but then there was a few people who really didn't have to help me at all, who put their hand up and said, you know what, you're crazy, you're nuts, you have no time to do this, I'd love to help you. And you know, Tomorrow Group, Richard Collin, and the whole Tomorrow team, you know, fall into that category of having faith in this crazy Londoner, black dude who just recently got to Bali and said, you know what, we can do this.
That's incredible because, you know, being also living now here in Bali, you wouldn't see it as even like a wine country. So the moment you even said wine, I'm like, how did you even make that work? I feel like you're almost bringing something very foreign into a country that's not really introduced to it, and you made a massive success of it. Like how? I have to ask how. Like
another great question of it. I mean, the reason how is that even though that's what it was called and that's what we did, the true essence of it was a community event wrapped up in the wrapper of a food and wine event. So what does that mean? It means that what I love to do is to bring people together and showcase their talents.
Right.
So in actual fact, what it was like a massive, you know, talent pool. And it was a way to really get that out of there. So the best of Brouwer, from the kids all the way through the adults. And then obviously the food and wine came later. But in essence, it's about human beings doing what they do best, which is kind of showing off, showing what they can do, and being really proud of it. Yeah, so and that was at the heart and soul of it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how I was able to get it into the hearts and minds of people.
So smart and clever with the marketing. Like, you know, it's I would not even have thought of that. Like now, one thing I want to ask is, and also knowing you, I mean, we were both at an event together and you were speaking before me, and that's how I connected you with, because when I heard you speak, I'm just like, I have to interview this man. Like,
gotta get this guy.
I need to get him.
Gotta get this guy.
And I remember before leaving, you know, I took the opportunity when I took the microphone from him. In that moment, I said to him, I need to interview you just to grab your attention, and so I don't lose that moment. And it went so well.
And you know, like this beautiful blonde from South Africa with a great energy and a beautiful way about it says, hey, I want to interview you. What do you say? Yes, of course.
There we go.
When? Should we do it now or when?
Yeah.
You know? So that's but you have a beautiful energy about you, Evette, and the way that you present and the way that you bring people in, the way you care and hold that space and container for others. Like for me, I go a lot on that. And lots of the interviews I've ever done, I've never known the person, hardly at all, but it's the energy of what they emit and that frequency, and it's like, let's do it.
And that's where we connected. Yeah, that's where I'm like, you're like the male version of me. Something's happening here, you know? And one thing that I see also in you, that there's tremendous passion. You always have this spark in you. Like you're always just like glittering. Like if people had to see auras, like that's how I see you. And knowing the challenges that you've had in your life as a child and in your past, how did you move from that to transforming into where you are today? Because there are people out there who are right now walking that path, or who did walk that path, and they haven't quite shaken that off. They couldn't, or they have trouble making that transition into that place of power.
Yeah, you know, I call it the 3 pillars of purpose. But I also have to say, I've been lucky. I've made my own luck, no doubt about it. And, you know, and also, you know, like, there are things that I continue to get better at and continue to master. So these 3 pillars of purpose. So the first one, by the way, none is better or worse than the other. It's just a powerful place to stand, right? So pillar number 1 is having no purpose, right? It's just literally living every moment like it's your last moment. And during this time, you know, were times where I end up playing basketball for England, I end up working with Madonna on some crazy projects, working with other famous people, just achieving things which are completely out of the box for someone like me who had an upbringing like me. So that was number 1. Wow. And then pillar number 2 is being pushed by something. So being an orphan and all the rest of that, even though I do have a mother and father and all the rest of that, but I felt many times pushed to help other kids, pushed to help them find their own walk, their own journey, their own spark, right? So that came in. So that's pillar number 2. And pillar number 3 is like brow, food, and wine festival, which is the feeling of being pulled towards something, like a tap on the shoulder from a divine source.
Like a knowing. It's just there.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like, this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And you need to do it. And then being available to do it, and kind of knowing you can do it, and even things that you don't know, just knowing that you'll find a way. Yeah. So they're the 3 pillars. 1, having no purpose whatsoever, living every moment like it's your last. Fantastic way to be in terms of yes to everything. Like that movie with, was it Jim Carrey, The Yes Man? Yes. I was a bit like that. I was like, what's I doing? I don't know. Yes, you know, things that I never knew what the hell I was doing, and they didn't always end up great, by the way. There was some which was like, oh my God, I'm so unlucky I survived that one. And then the next one is being pushed towards something where you feel this push from your childhood, push from the way you're brought up, push from other people to go and do something. And then the third one is this, feels like a divine tug on the shoulder, tap on the shoulder, or a tug towards something where you're not being pushed, where you don't feel duty bound to do it. Yeah. Where you're not like, I'm going to live in the moment and all I'm going to do is whatever I'm going to do. It's like, you know, you just feel this pull towards, this is what I need to do right now. Yeah. And I'm going to do it.
This is a very powerful moment here right now where you're talking about this pull. A lot of people misinterpret that as maybe is it my intuition, or maybe is it a desire of maybe wanting something a little bit too much. Sometimes our self-worth gets involved, and when we don't know how to listen to that. How did you, as I can say, cut through the BS and all this mental confusion? Like, how did you start to learn to understand the algorithm of how the divine pulls you and gets you into that right place and space?
That's a great question. Wow, like, it's interesting because 2 things come up. One was just usually, you know, when I get these feelings, it's like when I'm doing something that I love doing. You know, I might be riding a bike, like in Bali, you have scooters here and we ride everywhere, right? Yeah. And just being surrounded by rice paddies and God in all its forms, it's just like you're just in like a Garden of Eden, if there was such a place, where you just feel like you are in touch with everything at the same time, you know, and when it comes from that place, it has this honor, this beauty to it, which is kind of unmistakable, and it's not a hard tug or a kick it's a tap. That's the only way I can describe it. It's like a tap, just saying, you know, Rob, this is the next step, and it just drops in, and that's what happens there, But then every week, every day I do it. And how that works out is in interviewing, for example. You know, have the show go Speak Up Monday. We've interviewed, how many interviews? 280 or something, a lot, right? Right. And yeah, it's a big number, 229, that was it. Yeah. Gil was last night, that was fun. And so like there, what it is it's trust, because, you know, I don't script any questions, I don't write anything down. I literally go with, as we're doing now, we go with what is, where the flow is. Yeah. And there are moments where there's silence, and we're trained to be afraid of silence when talking to someone. It's like we're afraid of that. We're afraid of looking at someone and holding their gaze for longer than X amount of time, whatever time that is for you. You know, these things are just there. But what I realized was that if I let go and breathe into that silence, the next question, the next answer always comes. Always. Love that. So in life, to answer your question, the practical application is just staying with it, breathing into it, and knowing that the answer will always come.
And not deflect. Don't go try to do something else. We're actually biologically designed to be discomfort and pain avoidant. So it's almost like if we do move away from that and we don't want to be in that space, it's almost like it's an internal battle that we're having with what I would call the consciousness of the biology, because we have the cognitive consciousness and then we have the biology. So what you're learning to do is almost like to pacify the amygdala, like our panic button, because that's the part of the body that's like, no. don't want to be here right now.
Yeah.
And you're consciously learning how to just soothe that and to say, well,
Yeah.
it is actually okay. Let's be in that space. You are safe.
Yeah.
Because one thing that men, and I think it's safe to say this, don't like to feel unsafe. Because you guys are biologically hardwired to be the protectors, to be the defenders, to be the warriors, to be the fighters. So to defend and to always be on defense is hardwired. And to go the opposite of that, which is just to be in that space of silence, that's a new territory. But it's a territory that can be trained, that can be gently introduced, that you can move into, and you've done that.
Yeah, and
so that's great.
And you know that actually, like, you know, it also has been a bit of trial and error. You know, trialing and failing, or successful failures, and move forward, and just keep on moving. You know, it's like, what did you learn? I learned that. Keep going. You know, that time it felt off, but I did it anyway, and the outcome wasn't a great outcome. What did I learn? Don't go with that again. Don't feel forced or pressured. So the minute I'm feeling forced or pressured into doing something, then I step back. You know, so there's a bunch of things in there, which are definitely, you know, trial and error on top of everything else which I've said, and then over time, now it's more of a feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you've become used to it. It's your reference point. You know what your reference point is. So it's almost like the moment it comes, you recognize, you're like, oh, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
So you're wired for that now, and that's fantastic. And what I want to ask you also is, when we look at the big scope of just business in itself, like being in business, what would you say have been your biggest failures, and what did you do to turn it around? Or maybe fixing it is by walking away, because the biggest question is, when do we walk away from something that has potentially failed? Because a lot of people say there's no such thing as failure, there's just an adjustment to how you're approaching it. But I feel that sometimes there are things that have just really failed, and it's just time to walk away, like just create something else that is in alignment with you.
Yeah.
How do we recognize, when do we stop to push?
Yeah.
And when do we, you know?
Yeah. And when
embrace
do we embrace
it?
it? You know? A thought came up as you're asking the question. And it's, so this particular nightlife venture we had, voted number 3 in the world. And, you know, it was phenomenal, right? Yeah. But I got to say that through most of it, I was so in the moment of doing it that I wasn't aware of what I was doing entirely. And so what does that mean? It means that, you know, we were phenomenally successful, and the role which I had to play is what I do best, which is about how do you inspire people, you know, and create a space in the container where people feel very open, very safe, very comfortable to explore, whether it's dance, music, whatever, right? And but part of me felt like I was a bit like a rat in the wheel, felt like, you know? And it's interesting because, you know, I look at that now and say, well, why do I feel like that? And, you know, again, on the outside looking in, phenomenally successful, inside looking
Ticking
out.
all the boxes, right?
Yeah, you know, inside out, I was like, oh, is this really what I really want to do? You know, and I felt that, you know, in many ways, you know, we're driven towards this, you know, you need to focus at one thing and do that one thing, and that to everything else, just focus on that one thing. And it's interesting because I still have this conversation with myself now, you know, because implicitly I like to do several things, not at the same time, but implicitly I like to do several things. So, and even chatting with Gil, you know, yesterday, we're similar animals, and you know, for like him to do one thing in its entirety, it would kill him. You know, not kill him. That's too strong a word. So it's kind of working out, you know, as you go along, which thing do you focus on now?
Right.
So while I'm doing this thing, I am focused on it now. It's not that I'm focused on 20 things at the same time. Doesn't really work either. Tried that. So coming round to answer your question, so it's a case of saying, well, all right, I go back to what is it that I love doing, you know, and now that's more the direction and the pathway of where I'm going to. This ability to be able to focus on doing this one thing to the nothing else matters because I love doing that thing.
Yep.
So that will be the first thing. And then the second thing is, you know, is that then what happens though when you reach those junctures, those, you know, the fork in the road where you're kind of feeling like this isn't me, because, you know, I am getting now, as we speak, won't mention his name, but some very strong taps on the shoulder to go back to doing what we did before.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. So,
I know.
I know. You know, so here's the thing. So, where I'm starting, well, not really starting, but where my interest lies and my heart lies is along this tourism architect and doing what is and bringing thousands of people to different realities, right? That's where my heart is. Now, over here, then I had the brain going, hey, Robert, you know, like, you did really well with that. You know, that was amazing. You know, people still talk about it now. You know, wow. so many years ago, why not? You know, you could go back for like 3 years, five years. You know, make a gazillion, whatever it is, and then come back the other side and go and so on and so on and so on. Yeah. But deep down within me, I know I need to move on.
Oh wow!
You know, like deep down with me, and that future's not necessarily certain either. But I kind of know that's what I need to do.
How do you know? What does that feeling feel like? If you can really just break down, how does this sensory in your mind and in your heart signal that to you? What does it feel like?
Good question. You know, like, so there's a few things going on. So one is this over justification in my head of why something I should really be doing that thing.
Okay.
Right? So when that head is going 24/7, convince again, it's like, now I'm trying to convince myself.
Right, and you're asking why.
So now I'm really trying to convince myself.
Okay.
And then the other one, the other journey is just like, and also this journey here, the one which I've been to before, like, there doesn't really feel like a light that's really there beyond the financial. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that either, because financial is all part of it as well. Life will also require money. Whereas this other pathway, it feels like there's an opening, there's like an unfolding, there's an enthusiasm, there's an excitement, there's a sense of destiny within that journey, within that path that is facing me, even though I don't have all of the lights which are green, even though there are still things that I'm working out as I'm going in terms of this mastery thing. You know, there are certain fundamentals which I have in place, but the rest is actually, it's unknown. You know, it's unknown. Whereas the other path, I've seen it, been there, done that, and you know, consciously, I know how it works. You know, consciously, I can see how to put the pieces together to enjoy success in that road. You know, and again, there are lots of good reasons to do it. Lots of good reasons. But this one here just feels like that this is the future for where I need to be. This is the future that holds a charge and enthusiasm. This is the future that holds a light. This is the future that even though I haven't worked out all the parts of exactly how it works, I get kind of visions of impacting hundreds of thousands of people. So these are some of the reasons which are moving me towards this direction as opposed to this one. Yeah.
You know, you touched on something there so very important, and it's something just clicked for me as well. And I'm so thankful that you said that, because now I'm backtracking, like back, and I'm seeing now every place where I made a mistake, and that was the chatter, that was the going into the convincing mode, because the moment you have to convince yourself as to why this is so great, and that you're constantly having to mask some level of insecurity, which is perhaps an end result of feeling that lack of connection, the lack of truth, and now trying to make sense of that, because we don't have that sensitivity always, maybe due to stress or whatever reasons, and being in that convincing mode. And I think that is so fundamentally important, is to ask yourself, why do I have to convince myself that I have to keep moving forward with this, or that this is the right path? I'm just, so many things are clicking right now. And I think one thing where we go wrong is that it's either not okay to feel, we don't know how to feel, or it's not safe to feel, or society doesn't allow you to feel. And I'm seeing this happening a lot in the space and place for men. I mean, there's so many movement where it's like women this, women empowerment, and I kind of feel like men are drowning out. They're drowning in that space. It's a bit like it's overpowering, and people might say, yeah, well, that's correcting things. I'm like, no, overcorrecting is what it is. It's not balanced. And what I'm seeing is there's now this suppression that's being reinforced, with men not being allowed to speak or to say how they feel or to share an opinion, because otherwise it might hurt someone's feelings. So one thing that I know, because you work with people, this is something that I know you're going to be good at. How can men navigate this you're screwed if you do and you're screwed if you don't type of scenario? Because I feel this for men out there. I actually really do. And I'm seeing this with my husband, and seeing this other male friends that I have that's also in business, and I'm like, this imbalance needs to be balanced now. The wounds need to heal now. Things need to come back into, I mean, look at something that I deeply value. It's like coming from South Africa. I did not grow up in apartheid. I didn't grow up with the issues that they had there in South Africa. My neighbors were like African people. We would do marathons together. We would do sleepovers together. Like, there was no barrier there. But when I went to South Africa, oh my God, it was a conundrum. And instead of bringing the balance back now and just letting the past be at the past, and seeing this new wave that's coming in, that's not part of the problem, who's trying to be part of the solution, but the wounds of the past just keeps overpowering the movements that's trying to be made by all cultures. And I'm seeing this now happening also with this battle between the sexes, and it's like, it would be nice if we can find that place of balance where we don't have to overshadow each other. So is there anything that you can share or contribute or just throw in there in relationship to where men now are feeling a little bit like, things might be a bit unfair, they have to be overly careful of what they do and what they say. It's like, because you work with people, this is something that you deal with every single day, not just one-on-one, but in masses,
It's a very interesting question, because, like, the true answer for me is everything in its own time.
Right.
Is a true answer, but it can sound like a cop-out. So what do I mean by that? So, like, with this whole situation that we're in now, health situation going around the world, and lots of different opinions and polarizing and all the rest of that. So, you see, like, where I sit with all of it is a bit like this. Whether it's health, whether it's women's empowerment, and so on, it's like, it's going to sound so strange, but we're exactly where we need to be.
Right.
And so why is that? Because You know, I do a few clubhouse rooms every week, and I think the last 8 weeks, 9 weeks have all been about women's empowerment. I just follow the energy through. And you know, the one we did earlier on today, it was like the opposite, you know? But here's the thing, like, in many ways we have to feel going too far to know how to adjust.
That's it, yeah.
And so it's quite difficult sometimes to say, well, we've gone too far here, we need to adjust now, if people are not really feeling it. In the same way as this whole health thing that's happening now, you know, out of it, you know, maybe what people are getting is this reminder of how important their body is, how important it is to do a marathon, if that's what you want to do, or to do some sort of exercise, or to spend more time thinking about what you eat, thinking about what you put in your body, whether that's mentally, emotionally, physically, and so on, right? So to me, it's all part of a bigger balance. And, you know, even, you know, we have some particular leaders around, you know, which can be quite polarizing in what they do, political figures and all the rest of that, but they're needed. And I have this conversation with my partner sometimes, and it was initially greeted with not, let's just say, it wasn't really greeted. Yeah. It was like, what? Yeah. And then after I kind of explained it a little bit, you know, I think there was more of an understanding of, okay, maybe I don't agree exactly on what you're saying, but I get that there's a bigger player going on, right? So yeah, because now this person came along and they've basically stoked this whole fire of whatever that is. Now that rises up. People over here realize, damn, I didn't realize we hadn't dealt with that yet. But clearly it's still a challenge because there's a bunch of people over there who are jumping up about it. It's like, wow, I thought we were done with this. No, we're not. So then that causes this group of people to have another think about it and say, well, what is it that I'm contributing to this? And how can I then move it around in a different way to have more of a powerful positive impact as one which is probably the opposite. So the big answer to your question is really that one of understanding that like, to me, it's all part of the play. It's all part of the dance,
true, actually.
The dance of life, which gives us perspective. You know, now on a day-to-day basis, you know, like, how do we deal with it? You know, that's a different question, and it's.
And that's where I feel stuck. That's why I would love to see more harmony, more collaboration, because it's butting heads. But we are the only two species on the planet. It's men and women. That's it. You know, it would kind of help if we can find a neutral foundation to meet.
And you know, like on a day-to-day basis, like when I'm coaching people and kind of all work, I do involve coaching on some level. It's crazy, isn't it? You know, like the key part to all of this is talking about it. You know, because
break the silence.
Because when something is hidden or pushed down, suppressed or otherwise, that's where it has this suppressive power over us.
We're reading around for anger.
Anger, subconscious stuff, you know, all of that, unconscious as well. So if we're having a conversation, you know, with these women empowerment rooms, which I was doing, and after some ladies were saying, thank you for holding the space for us. And I laugh, not because I think it's funny. I laugh at the irony because, you know, I'm outnumbered at home. I've got two daughters who are 5 and 7, and obviously my partner Marina. So like women's empowerment, I breathe it every day.
A lot of estrogen around you.
A lot of estrogen around me. So but funnily enough, growing up as a kid in the children's home, my best friends were always girls, before guys, because I didn't feel threatened and I was very shy. I got this introvert extrovert. I still am an introvert extrovert. So I felt a lot more safe around women than I did with men. And then I felt more safe around, you know, Caucasian as opposed to black. Now it's all different. But the point is that you know, like when we look back over our lives, it's kind of perfect the way that things have kind of evolved, even though in the moment there's challenges, like there's challenges I'm facing right now in this moment that I wish I didn't have to face. Part of me feels that way, but I know that through going through it, I'm sharpening the axe, I'm getting better, I'm getting more masterful, I'm getting more resourceful at how I handle life, how I handle business, how I handle relationships, be they intimate relationships or be they relationships in business with co-workers and so on, or with my teams. So it's it's all connected, but the straightforward answer is talk about it. Yeah. This stuff on a day-to-day level. Talk about it. Don't hide it in, and foster listening. You know, the things which I'm always teaching people is 3 types of listening: listening to interrupt, listening, feigning listening, and listening actively because you're interested and you're curious about what is being said and how someone thinks and feels and acts and why they believe that. And if we can do that, which I'm not always capable of doing, but most of the time I am, then it actually lands. And when something lands, it stops the argument. Because all we want to be is heard by each other.
That's it.
Whether it's men, women, dogs, you know, like, it doesn't matter. We just want to be heard. So if we can hear our partners, hear our work colleagues, hear our friends, hear our family, hear our bosses, hear our subordinates, or whatever, hear our team, and they felt heard, then it transforms that dynamic. And then it becomes less about balance and less about this and more about how do we express ourselves in a powerful, productive way that also supports one another. Yeah. So then we're outside of empowerment, we're outside of this, because again, that's just another box that people can use to separate, divide and conquer. Whereas if we step outside of that and just step back into what is it to be a human being and come from there, then we don't have these stick in the mud, we don't have all of these compartmentalizations and divisions which render us powerless most of the time.
That's true, and that's where the fight and anger comes, because we're trying to overcorrect this place of vulnerability.
Yeah.
I want to dive a little bit more into what you just touched on in terms of, you know, how you approach and handle challenges. Now, you already explained that, but I want to take it from a different angle. What do you do and how do you deal with business challenges when you are in a state where you actually feel unresourceful?
Yeah. Ooh.
We've all been there, you know. I have been there, and I know that every person in business, where you're on your knees and you just go like, what just happened? Like, I don't even know where to look to even start to find a possible solution.
Oh man, you know, like one thing which I want to do while I answer the question is to humanize it, right? So
yes, please, it's important.
Yeah, so I wake up with days where I'm like, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I here?
The crisis,
you know? I wake up with those days. You know, and it's like, what am I doing? You know, what am I here? Well, yesterday was very different. Why am I here today? So I wake up with doubt. Sometimes I wake up with insecurity. Sometimes so I have these things that occupy my mind and my body and my spirit from time to time, and I don't know whether they're coming or not. It's just in a way how I wake up. It's just that now there's probably more tools in the tool belt for me to be able to deal with it, right? So challenges at work, when something happens and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm feeling completely unresourceful, what do I do? So there's a few things, you know. One is, you know, I happen to work with some really great people. So really, if I want to pick up the phone to someone who I know has been through this before, like call it a mentor. One of those mentors actually is, you know, in one of our businesses, one of the teams that I run. One is like on the board, you know, like a shareholder and everything else. Brilliant guy, massive, brilliant guy. We have different skills that work quite well together, and you know, so there can simply be me picking up the phone and saying, hey, this thing happened. I'm feeling really clouded at the moment. Any advice? And I don't necessarily like help me, do it for me. I'd say, is there any advice that you can offer? You know, and if he's in the zone, he'll come up with some advice. That's one thing which I do. Another thing which I do, and it depends upon what's going on. Like, if I can extricate myself from the situation, in other words, if I can leave and go, we're in Bali, man. So, you know, if I can go find a rice paddy or find somewhere outside of the box that I'm in, just to get some space.
It's like break the pattern a bit.
Break the pattern.
Yeah.
I find that really can help me as well to readjust and to refocus on what's important right now. And I don't always get it right, but at least I can get to a place of a methodology of making a decision. Right?
There's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. You know, so those two things come pretty kind of strong. The other thing is more of a faith thing. So what I've realized is that no matter what has happened in my life, there have been times where I shouldn't even be here. So, you know, there's a level of protection that I think has always been around me. You know, and it's part of my morning mantras. You know, I'm always protected. You know, like the universe is always protecting me. The universe is always guiding me to my highest good. The universe has always got my back. So these are one of the powerful mantra which is always around me actually. When I'm riding a bike, when I'm going for a walk, when I'm talking to my partner, you know, like it's always there. It's always around me. So there are some people who have been in business, lost it all, lost it again, made it back, and they know that no matter what, I'll always make money, no matter what. You know, 'cause I've been there, seen it, done that. Part of that thing with me is that no matter what, I know I'll always find a way through. And I've been in that many situations where it's like, how the hell am I going to get out of this one or through this one? But I've always managed to find a way. And when I say I, it's not always I. It's something else. It's like a we. It's something that's greater than the I, that I am a part of, intricately connected to. And you call it faith, call it God, call it whatever you want to call it. I call it universe. But, you know, so no matter what, I'm always cognizant enough to know there's always a solution. And so in those moments where all the shit has hit the fan, I'm like, deep down I know that I'm always protected. Deep down I always know there's a solution. Deep down I know that if I can either get myself out of this situation I'm in and do something else. And that activates and triggers latent abilities and dormant areas of my brain to come in and shed a light on what the solution would be. And then the final one, as I mentioned, is, you know, there are those handful of people, maybe less, that I know if I really do need that phone call, I'll pick up that phone. I'm not too shy to do that and say, hey, I've got this situation. What would you advise? This is what it is. Bang, 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 bang. What would you advise? And sometimes they're able to help, and sometimes, you know, what they've said isn't. But then it's just been that pattern interrupt for long enough. It's like a mastermind. Like a mastermind is a phenomenal resource to access this collective intelligence, this Akashic record of sorts that we have, right? So by going through that quite often, you know, when you're in a mastermind, when you're supporting someone else, or when they're being supported, is when the answer for you comes. Not necessarily when it's your turn. It's like, well, I've got this problem. Can you help me?
I love how because you're already just diving into your routine for success. But I want to know, what does a daily day look like in your life in terms of how do you have rituals that you practice or things that you do to just stay balanced, to stay grounded, to stay in the body, to regulate or self-regulate yourself after a stressful day?
So, you know, this thing about a morning routine or a daily routine, mine changes.
Based on what you need? Or
But the fundamental essence is the same.
Got it.
So the fundamental essence, mind, body, spirit. You know, they're like the three keys. We can expand out two more, but they're the three keys. So no matter what, some part of my day will be focusing meditation, exercise. And most of the time I try to actually live in meditation, right? The idea is to be mindful all the time. And I don't always get there. There are times where I slip off and come back on again and so on, right? So that one is a mastery in work, in action. Physically, each day pretty much I'm doing something physically. And that could be as little as doing some push-ups because I don't have time to do anything else. Or if I'm really on top, then I'll be going out to this field not far from where I live, and I just do like a circuit training, which involves the whole body, 3, 4, 5 times a week, sometimes more, depending how crazy I'm feeling. And so that's it. And then what I've started to do recently, Blinkist, actually, thanks Gil, Blinkist. So every morning I'll listen to a book.
Okay, yeah, the short version.
Short, yeah. Right, so 15 minutes to 20 minutes, I'll listen and I'll take notes. So this is before the phone is even switched on. The Blinkist is obviously in Blinkist mode. But before I look at emails, before I look at anything like that, before I play with the kids, a lot of the time the kids are knocking the door, Daddy, wake up. And they're like, no, I've got to keep going, got to keep going. And thank you, Marina, if you're watching, because she does so much. But yeah, so mind, body, spirit every day, and usually the way that manifests itself is there's definitely meditation. There's definitely a repeating of mantras. By the way, before I wake up, that's the first thing which I do. There's three mantras that I repeat to myself, and then meditation, and then you got your Blinkist books. And then something physical. Okay. Yeah. And I find that doing those things kind of keeps me on top, keeps me sharp.
I love that. Now, Rob, I know that you're a very busy man and that you also have to move and shake, but I have one more question.
Move and shake. Shake and bake.
Before you do.
I don't bake.
But you pretend that you do. No, I'm joking. I have one more question for you, if you can share with any of the guys who might be in a place now, especially after COVID, lockdown. A lot of people's businesses thrive, but a lot of people's businesses also just went bomb, just hit a wall really, really hard. Is there anything that you can say or share with anyone right now who were in business or who are in business right now that's just feeling like, screw it, just feeling that place of just a little bit unresourceful right now. That last night.
Oh, look, well, first thing, sounds crazy what I'm about to say.
Go for it.
But acknowledge where you are. It doesn't mean you're going to stay there, but acknowledge where you are. There's an exercise called the 3 5s that I found that I've done with many people, and there's always something great that comes out of it. And pen, piece of paper. I love doing exercise where you don't need other people. Okay. Necessarily. I'm not a massive fan. I'm a fan of people who have knowledge, seek out the knowledge, mentor, and all that. I'm a fan of that. But I don't like the idea that someone is got kind of come see me, give me some money, and I'll give it to you. So I like to create things that you can do by yourself, but have some really strong, powerful insights. So piece of paper, and write this down. So the first one is, and you would have heard this before, what are the 5 or 10 things that I love to do? A lot of the time we forget the things that we love to do. Even now, in my mind, I'm like, there's 3 things that I love to do that I haven't done in the last month. Why is that? Why haven't I done them? Like sporting stuff. But anyway, so I'm reminding myself while I'm reminding you. Right. So 5 or 10 things you love to do, and then it's like 5 or 10 aptitudes or skills, superpowers that you're really good at. Now, when I'm having a blah morning, and I had one the other day, and it was particularly blah, and I was there going, oh man. So I had to, remind myself, Rob, what is it you rock at, man? You rock at facilitation. Why? And I could recall some recent successes, right? So that kind of helps. So recall some recent successes in that area. What else? I can inspire people. and recent successes there. And I love to connect people.
Yeah.
All right, and I can recall there's always some examples there. And you'll find that the things you love to do that you're really good at, the universe has already showed you that you are really good at these things. So you just have to remind yourself, like give yourself like a tap on the backside of the head. Oh, you're good at this, you know, right? And so these are ways that I help to get myself up. So number 1, 5, 10 things I love to do. Number 2, 5 superpowers, things that I'm really, really good at. This time you might need to ask some other people if you're really, really stuck. Someone who loves you, who would tell you the truth, not someone who would tell you what you want to hear, right? And then the third thing is that how can I put those together in an activity that can create income?
Whoa.
Yeah. It's,
dun, dun, dun. I love that.
It's so simple, but it's so powerful. And then what you start to do, if you've done 10 things for each one, then you'll start to realize there's things that you've always wanted to do but are not doing.
Yeah.
And you've always wanted to, and you're there going like, why have I not done this?
Yeah.
Clearly I have the skill to do it, you know? Clearly I have the aptitude and I love doing it. Why am I not doing it? Yeah. And then what you can do is that then you can give them a number, maybe the lowest hanging fruit first.
Yeah.
You know, so and then whatever that is, that's what you focus on for the next 90 days. And then come up with a plan for the next 90 days to have impact into that area and see how it feels. After 90 days, you're like, no, it's not really me. Drop it. Go to the next one.
Right.
And you'll find something in there. You will. You know, and you know what it is actually.
Yeah.
You know what it is. And you know, like one very powerful conversation I had, you know, yesterday with my great friend Itchy. You know, and it was just having those people, those 3, 5, 2 that you can just have a conversation with without having to keep up the bullshit or any other pretense that you may think that you need to have or chest beating, whatever it is, and just have a chat, you know. And through this conversation with Itchy, he reminded me of something. I was like, why am I doing this? And it was one of those moments. And it was like I love doing it. I'm really good at it. And that I can also monetize. You know, so that it's another one on that list. Again, I can't do them all at once, but I can choose which one. I can focus on it for 90 days and go, right, 90 days, what can I do in this area? And by the way, if you still at your day job, keep your day job, but the money's ticking in, no problem, no problem. This is for you, this is for the other part of you, this dormant, latent, get back in the game part of you, that is part of you, that is there, that it doesn't go away. You're never given more than you can handle, no matter sometimes how much that feels like.
Wow. And
it really does. And men have got this awful thing of not talking about their challenges or their problems, you know, of not wanting to feel like I'm beneath someone or, you know, I'm not good enough for this. All of this, all you need is 1 or 2 people, even 1. Because here's the thing, like we're all, as I mentioned earlier on, you know, like most people are scared to hold eye contact for any period of time. We did this one in a forum, you know, it was like 5 minutes staring, you know, and you see past lives and you're like, oh. But what you really get is how afraid we are of one another.
Right.
At our core level, it's like this survival mechanism, this survival fear, you know, of being seen. You know, but all you need is 1 person, you know, who you can just be seen and just say, you know what, having a shit day or whatever it might be, you know, like, what are my gifts? Where are my skills at? I've got a feeling they're here, but I've gone through a bit of a rough patch. You know, like what is it that I do well? You know, and just to be reminded of what that is and put those 3 things together. What I love to do, probably haven't done it for a while, right? What am I good at? Where do my skills lie? Or what I can easily upskill to, right? And then how can I combine those into an offering or a system or a process or an activity that I can monetize. And that is so simple, but it's so profound. And I've sat down with so many people, and I've gone through that same thing, and they've always come out, a few days later, Rob, I've got it.
Wow.
Da 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 da, and I'm doing it, and I'm inspired, and I'm moving, you know, and I'm powerful, and I feel like the green guy's back again.
I love it.
The green guy's back, and they go out and they get it done.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
that was golden advice, absolutely golden advice. And even I'm going to be implementing this in my life. Sorry guys,
me too.
I'm taking some information here for me too. Absolutely fantastic. You know, I have to thank you for your light and for everything that you do and bringing people together. I mean, what a fulfilling way to spend your time, spend your day, because you touch people's lives and touch other people's lives, and it's just this beautiful ripple effect that continues to grow. And it's wonderful that, you know, your passion is also there amongst many other things as well, because connection is so much needed right now because of the disconnection that we're going through with COVID and the fear and all this nonsense that's going on. It's great that you're focusing on something to bring people back together again. It's direly, direly needed. So thank you so much for doing that. And I want to thank you for being here with us today. Thank you so much. And so there you have it, guys.
Blessings, Evette Rose. Amazing.
Thank you
You're
so
amazing.
much.